Now that we've had 24 hours or so to look back at the loss to the Bears on Sunday, who or what stood out the most? And after a quarter of the season, what is the biggest takeaway about the 2025 Silver and Black? That plus more coming up on Tuesday's edition of the Locked On Raiders podcast, September 30th, 2025.
You are Locked On Raiders, your daily Las Vegas Raiders podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome here, Raider Nation, to another edition of the Locked On Raiders podcast. Thank you so much for making the show your first listen of the day. We definitely appreciate you. If you're catching the show wherever you find your favorite podcast or you're checking us out by way of the YouTube page, we appreciate both. Show continues to grow each and every day because of your support and the great job that my man Ari does behind the scenes, making sure we look good and sound good each and every day. We shout him out. We appreciate him. He's on Twitter at Ari Produces. I'm on Twitter as well at your boy Q254. And if you want to be a part of the show, as you can imagine, many of you do, we got the Locked On Raider podcast voicemail line for you, 707-654-4693. As we normally do, we'll close out the show hearing from you. Calls, texts, we'll try to get as many in as possible. Got some pretty lengthy calls, got a couple short calls. So, again, we'll try to hustle up and get as many in as possible in segment number 3 as we close out the show. Segment number 2. We'll hear from head coach Pete Carroll as he spoke with us at the Intermountain Health Performance Center on Monday, just kind of giving us an overall assessment when he went back and looked at the film for the second time following the game after he left the stadium. Gives you a pretty detailed answer of how he's feeling about this team, and we'll talk about the identity and the direction and who this team is after 4 weeks. You have a pretty good idea of what a team is going to be about 4 games into the season. So now that 4 games are in the book, we'll talk about who this team really is and who they have the potential to be in 2025. Here is segment number 1, news and notes of the day. We'll go ahead and jump right into it after I tell you about the title sponsor of the show, which is FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. So, off top, one of the biggest things and areas of concern that I had going into Monday and going into the press conference with head coach Pete Carroll was what was the injuries like. Colton Miller, obviously the left tackle going down late in the game, gets carted off. You're going to be concerned about that. So the update so far on Colton Miller is that he has a high ankle sprain. He was having an MRI as of Monday morning, and it's a potential multi-week injury. And Pete Carroll did not give us any update further than that. Then he was going to go get the imaging, and then he'd provide an update later on. But he did say Stone Forsythe will be up first if Colton misses some time. And that's who went in and filled in for him when he went down late in the game on Sunday. And so, again, when we talk about the offensive line, if trust and believe, we spent plenty of time, right, talking about the offensive line. What did we talked about? Continuity. They haven't had it, and it looks like they're not going to have it again if Colton Miller does eventually miss time. I mean, think about it. Their starting offensive line played in week 1. Their starting offensive line did not play again until week 4, and now there's a chance that their starting offensive line is not going to play again in week 5 because Colton Miller could be out. Now, Kirk Morrison, Raiders color commentary, longtime middle linebacker for the Silver and Black in the NFL in general. He was on my radio show, and he joins my radio show each and every Monday, and it's awesome to have him on there because, man, his breakdowns are fantastic. So I asked him his thoughts on if Colton Miller goes down, what does that mean for the Raiders offensive line moving forward?
I mean, the Chargers, they're down Rashawn Slater and Joe Alt. This is the NFL, man. Next man up. You don't cry about it. Next man up. That's just the way this league is. Oh, next guy. Hey, I love Colton. I want Colton to be out there, but in this league, you can't cry about it. You got to, next man up. So if it's Charles Gregg, Caleb Rogers, Stone Forsythe, it don't matter. If you own the roster, it is every man up to replace our guy for a couple weeks or however how long he's going to be out. That's the mentality that you have to have. And I say that because last year, Thayer Mumford goes down, and we're like, oh, Mumford goes down. Oh, here comes DJ Glaze.
Yeah.
It gave him an opportunity. Yeah. So now guess what? Someone's opportunity is going to happen now because of Colton Miller. You never know what a starter may be holding another guy back, but this is how the National Football League works. Somebody's going to get an opportunity to get some quality reps, and I'm excited for who that guy is because, we're going to look at it. We're going to see the bullseye is going to be on them. But, man, I've seen a lot of guys rise up to the top, especially in these situations. Man, Eric Stokes goes down. Darian Porter goes in. We didn't mention his name, but guess what? The dude played lights-out football yesterday. Opportunities. What are you going to do when you get them? That's the thing, right? Raheem Mostert was inactive first 3 weeks.
Yep.
He was active yesterday. What happened?
Man.
Had the big play. So I'm just trying to tell people, man, I know a guy goes down. but the next man up, man. Ian Thomas had some great blocks yesterday. So I never look at a guy going down to injury as is something for you to say, oh, we're down a guy, that we're you got to be positive. And the positivity I say is it gives another guy an opportunity to go steal some reps to show what they can do.
Spoken like a true player, right? Spoken like a true player. And honestly, what else can you say? As much as, you want him to have some kind of great answer where it's like, man, this is what they're going to do. This is how you're going to overcome that. Look, it's really as simple as what he said. It's the next man up. Sometimes you get a diamond in the rough and you find someone that you didn't know what they were going to provide, and all of a sudden they do really well. And I do like the fact that he brought up DJ Glaze when Thayer Munford went down, because nobody knew what DJ Glaze was going to be, and Thayer Munford was expected to be the starting right tackle. And then early in training camp, he goes down, and DJ Glaze goes in there, holds it down, and to the point where people were like, hey, he held it down against Max Crosby. And, that ended up becoming a thing there in training camp last year in Costa Mesa. But now DJ Glaze has been the right tackle ever since. So maybe someone emerges, but I hate to see Colton Miller go down just because you know what you get from the big left tackle who's been there for so many years, and just the consistency that normally you're going to get, and you're hoping that this offensive line can come together. One more soundbite that I wanted you to hear from Kurt when he was on my radio show has to do with Geno's interceptions. He does a really good film breakdown. If you're following him on Twitter, at Kirk Morrison, then check it out. He does it every week after the game. It's fantastic, about 3 minutes long. Puts out video, brings the pointer out, points out all the film breakdown. I think it's really good. If you're not following him on Twitter, you need to be, just to go check it out. But he put out a tweet about Geno's interceptions and how it's correctable. So, of course, one of the first questions I asked him when he joined my radio show was, what are you seeing from Geno Smith with his interceptions?
I think the big thing right now is what I'm seeing, Q, is that Geno is kind of staring some guys down. And I've said this before. With Brock Bowers not being 100%, teams are going to guard and defense the Raiders differently. That's what I'm seeing right now. They're not afraid of getting beat deep. It was different last week versus Washington, or a couple weeks ago versus Washington, where you kind of saw Trey Tucker take off and go deep and, made a couple plays at the end of the game. But teams are trying to take that away from the Raiders, make them go from top down. I call it umbrella coverage, keeping everything in front of you. And right now, that's what I've seen, is that Geno Smith has to look more for the underneath. It may have to be more shorter, intermediate, underneath routes, because right now teams are jumping everything underneath. So maybe it's time that if it's not going to be short or intermediate, take a couple shots deep down the field. If you think about it, Q, there was not a shot deep down the field.
Right.
I've been waiting. I'm clamoring for that Dante Thornton. We've been waiting.
Mm-hmm.
But I ain't seen Dante Thornton since we left New England.
Right.
So I want to see more of him. I want to see these shots deep down the field. That's where Geno excels at. That's where his arm is. He likes to throw the ball deep down the field. And I think because of what happened against the Chargers in week 2, we haven't seen that part of Geno really come back. Now, it was a necessity in Washington, but I really feel like Geno has to get that confidence back, and it just can't be this roller coaster up and down each week with him.
Again, fantastic breakdown right there from Kirk Morrison, really talking about the fact that he's just pressing. Trying to do too much, right? He's trying to, overcompensate for what happened in the Chargers game, kind of going back and living off of the success that he had in the Patriots game, and, just trying to do more than he needs to, and just pressing a little bit too much. And that's something that he can't do. He knows that. He's admitted that to us before, but now he's got to find a way to correct that and make sure that he doesn't do that, because now he's becoming a liability. He has 6 touchdown passes on the season and 7 interceptions. That's not the ratio. That's not the numbers that you want. We talked about it a lot in the offseason. Last year in Seattle, 20 touchdowns, 15 interceptions. We said that's not going to get it done. It's got to be closer to 30 touchdowns and closer to 10 interceptions. Right now, he's not on pace for that. Not on pace for that at all. Real quick nugget about Ashton Genty. After 4 weeks, he's 8th in the National Football League as far as rushing. Before the game on Sunday, he was 24th. Right. And so I had talked about it. It's like, man, he's like 100 yards away from being a top 5 guy. Well, based off what he did on Sunday and what others did, he ends up coming in at number 8. Right. He has 282 total yards on 68 carries, which is good for 4.1 yards per carry. Now, obviously, he had the big 64-yard run. You can say, yeah, we'll take that out, Q. And then his average is a lot less and his yards a lot. Yeah, that's true. Ifs and buts, and we all get that. But he had a 64-yard run for a touchdown. Right. That's how it goes. 2 touchdowns on the ground, 2 touchdowns receiving for Ashton Genty. So consistency is what you need to see from him, but really good place to be. And we saw signs of him getting closer and closer and closer to breaking one, and finally it happened. But yeah, he went from 24th in the league as far as rushing goes, already at the top 10. So just continue to let him grow. It's only 4 games in the books. He's got 13 at least 13 more of these things guaranteed as long as he stays healthy. But coming up in segment number 2, we hear from head coach Pete Carroll. Want to talk about the identity of this team, who we think they are after 4 weeks, now that we got a pretty good sample size of Raiders football in 2025. That comes up in segment number 2 of today's Locked On Raiders podcast. Before we get to that, though, I do want to tell you about a couple great sponsors here on the show, including Mizzen and Main. You know the saying, look good, feel good. The problem is that most dress clothes only check one of those boxes. They look sharp, but they feel stiff. They feel hot, and they're high maintenance. That's where and why there's Mizzen and Main. Mizzen and Main makes classic menswear with performance fabric, so it's effortless to look sharp and feel comfortable. They actually invented the performance fabric dress shirt over 10 years ago, and they've perfected it ever since. Their shirts are stretchy, moisture wicking, wrinkle resistant, and machine washable. No ironing, no dry cleaning. All guys, people say amen on that, right? I know that you are going to love being able to go from office to dinner, even going out to the golf course, and still feel comfortable all day long without feeling like you have to make multiple wardrobe changes. It's like the athletic wear, but the look of professional menswear. Right now, Mizzen and Main is offering all listeners of the Locked On Raiders podcast 20% off your first purchase at mizzenandmain.com with promo code LOCKEDONNFL20. That's Mizzen, spelled M-I-Z-Z-E-N, and Main, M-A-I-N.com. Promo code LOCKEDONNFL, the number's 20 for 20% off. And if you'd rather shop in person, you can find Mizzen and Main stores in select states. I also want to tell you about FanDuel. NFL season is here, a quarter of the way through. Matter of fact, FanDuel has an offer you don't want to miss. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Pick a bet, put down $5, and if it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. I mean, FanDuel gives people so many ways to play. You could build parlays, you could try player props, you could follow live during the games. And it makes watching football even more exciting when you got a little something riding on the action. So whether you're a casual fan or love diving into the stats, FanDuel makes the game day experience so much better. No, don't look now. Major League Baseball postseason is here. I'm just saying, just throwing it out there. I'm not saying everybody's a Major League Baseball fan, but man, postseason action is fantastic. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today and get started. All right, Raider Nation, here we go. Segment number 2 of today's Locked On Raiders podcast. Want to get into what head coach Pete Carroll had to say. He had a pretty lengthy press conference on Monday over at the Intermountain Health Performance Center. Didn't really know what he was going to say about that loss because that was a tough one. As you heard from Ashton Genty on Monday's show, Max Crosby had some stuff to say after the game as well. That was a tough one for the Raiders to take on the chin when Genty has the performance he did, Crosby has the performance he did. JPJ was out there hitting anything that was walking. I mean, he was out there playing with like a man possessed, and I thought the defense did a really good job keeping them in the game, even though the Raiders turned the ball over 4 times. So when Pete Carroll went back and looked at the film, what did he see? Vinny Bonsignore asked the question. Pete Carroll provided the very lengthy answer.
When I got back to the office last night, I wasn't sure how I felt about the game and how it could affect us. It did affect us. And watching the film, the way the defense played under all of the challenges that they had, the aggressiveness, the consistency all the way throughout, the challenges of the sudden changes, I thought they were spectacular in that, in putting forth a great effort. For us to come out of that game and run the football as well as we did, and protect the quarterback as well as we did, to see Ashton, you guys have all said it. Everybody's been saying, well, he just needs to break one run or whatever. Well, he did, and he had a great game, and he looked fantastic for us. And Raheem looked really good too. I thought the two complemented well, and I thought Chip did a nice job of taking what was there in the running game, and it was a big game for us, So when I come out of away from, watching the film last night, I saw nothing but upside. And because the ability to run the football, to have a running back that is a real threat, a running game that's a real threat, allows us so much balance, so much better chance for balance in what you present to your opponent. And that's what I've always been seeking. And I thought that was the first time it really felt like that. And I'm going with it. I'm going with it. We're going to continue to do the things that make a good football team, present themselves to your opponents, and you have to do all of those things well. And so it doesn't mean that you run the ball the whole game. It means that you have that opportunity when you get your chances that you can take advantage of it. And that feeds the play action game, and it keeps us out of dropping back and adds to the protection, which it couldn't have been more classically demonstrated by no sacks. Gino ran the ball really well out of the pocket and got out of there. So all of that comes back to it's about the football. We gave the ball up too much, and it wasn't that they scored with it, because I think somebody said some stat about we've had a ton of turnovers here at Allegiant, and opponents have scored like 12 points off those turnovers. Whatever is that the right number?
13.
Yeah. So it just paints a picture of where we're capable of going. It happens to be 1-3, and I can't do nothing about that right now. But what we do going forward is build from this opportunity to be a balanced, well-presented, difficult defense to run the football at, a team that can stay on top and do those things right. Now, the other problem is we've had some issues in the kicking game that have been significant. Getting the game winner blocked is significant. The week before we weren't very good. The Washington game was really an outlier for how we've played, and that's done also. But I think we can feel by the end of this meeting today, and by the time I get with our guys and show them what we're talking about, we're going to have a feeling of what we are going forward. Also, you're not asking any questions, so I'm just going to keep yapping. This was a really important game for us to demonstrate to ourselves what we are when we play at home, and the effort and the mentality and the willingness to hang with it no matter what happened was demonstrated. That's the mark of a team that I recognize and that I'm trying to build, and so I felt good about that stuff. And unfortunately, we lose by a point, so that's kind of what it felt like.
I thought that was a fantastic answer, and you could tell that Pete Carroll, when he stepped to the podium, he had something to say. And that's why you heard him right there say, you're not asking no questions, so I'm just keep going. He had plenty to say. Again, it was a lengthier press conference. Normally the Monday after the game presser is about 10 to 12 minutes. That one went about 15 to 16 minutes, right? And again, his answers were very lengthy based off of what he saw when he went back and looked at the film. So who is this Raiders team after 4 games, right? It's something that Lincoln Kennedy says all the time, and it's something that I've found to be true, that you have a good idea and you know a lot about a team after the first 4 weeks. The first month is always kind of, all right, let's see who these guys are. One week you'll see a really good performance. Another week you'll see another bad performance. But who are they consistently? Obviously, with the Raiders being 1-3, that's not where you want to be. Would have much rather them being at 2-2 and felt like that they were on the trajectory moving up, where they're now, riding a 3-game losing streak, and you're wondering, okay, how do you stop the bleeding? But I think we did see a good, healthy glimpse of what this vision of this Raiders team is, and you heard Pete Carroll kind of alluded to it there, talking about being balanced. Balance means that the run game and the pass game is cooking. Gino had to carry the Raiders week 1 against the Patriots, and he was able to do that, and they got the victory, but he threw for 362 yards. Then you saw the next few games, he tried to be the guy throwing the rock all over the yard, and it obviously didn't work against the Chargers, and the Commanders game was just throw that out. That was bad. I can say real quick, I feel pretty comfortable now that Commanders game was just a terrible game. What, for one reason or the other, there was just a bad game, right? Short week, travel east, any kind of excuse, reason, whatever you want to call it, that's fine. But that clearly, to me, was just a really bad game at the office for everybody involved. Offense, defense, special teams, coaches, nobody did good in that game. I feel like that there was a lot more that you could see that's consistent from weeks 1, weeks 2, and weeks 4, and weeks 3 was just kind of one of those, I don't know what that was. And Pete Carroll alluded to that as well on Monday, just saying about that game, and you heard him say what he had to say about that. But with that being said, the strong run game, and that doesn't mean that Ashton Genty's going to go for $130 every game, right? It doesn't even mean he's going to go for 100 yards every game, but you've got to have that element. You've got to have the run game. I think Raheem Mostert being up as opposed to Zamir White was really good, getting that veteran running back in there. You saw he picked up 64 yards of his own. Now that they've had a taste of success, and I use this reference all the time when I talk about sports in general, but I always go back to basketball. Sometimes you just need to see the ball go through the hoop. And I feel like Ashton Genty got to see the ball go through the hoop multiple times. Raheem Mostert obviously saw the ball go through the hoop. The running game was there. The defense played well. They played really good. Was there some mistakes? Do they have to clean up some? Absolutely. But you turn the ball over 4 times, and they gave up 13 points off those turnovers. That could have been a blowout. And I said it on Monday's show. If the Bears were a better team, it probably is a blowout. But the defense did everything in their power to keep them there. Max Crosby had that game that we've been begging for forever, right? Make those big difference makers, those TJ Watt plays. Make those Myles Garrett plays. Make those Micah Parsons plays. And he did. He did, and he did. Check all those boxes. He did that. So that's what this identity is truly going to be. You heard Pete Carroll talk about that's what I'm trying to build. A very strong defense. Right, that defensive line, you got to give Robbie Leonard and company a lot of credit. They're finding ways to be effective, on the defensive line. They held the Bears to 2 yards rushing in the first half. Again, I mean, I'm not looking for moral victories because they lost the game ultimately. But when you hold a team to 2 yards rushing, that's incredible. They did that. The strength of this Raiders defense is the run, stopping the run, and then trying to pin their ears back and get to the quarterback. Again, I'm not making up anything. That's what Pete Carroll just said. So to me, the identity is funny. Orlando Franklin, a longtime offensive lineman, played for the Denver Broncos. He was on ESPN radio on Sunday, and I actually did a little check-in with them at halftime. And he said, Q, I just got to ask one question. What is the identity of this Raiders team? And I said, I think it's what they're doing right now. I think it's a strong run game with Genty, obviously Mostert as well as a compliment, right? Have a strong defense, but you also have to have complementary to good quarterback play, and that's where the big hang-up's been. Complementary to good quarterback play has not been there the last 3 weeks. It was there week 1, no doubt about it. So Geno's got it in him, but who are you consistently? I talk about it all the time. I don't need you to be a 10 one week and then a 4 the next week, and then an 8 the next week, and then a 3 the next week, and then a 9 one week, and then a 7 the other. No, who are you consistently? Even if you're not a 10, that's fine. Just give me a strong 7 every week, and I know what I'm going to get, and I know how to build. Geno he's been consistently bad the last 3 weeks. That's not okay. And too many turnovers. So he's got to find a way to clean that up. And the other problem is when you turn the ball over, even though it wasn't, a lot of points that the Raiders defense gave up, and again, Pete Carroll just alluded to that, you're stopping your drives. You're not getting in a rhythm. The Raiders only ran 52 offensive plays on Sunday. 52, right? Because they kept giving the ball away. You can't have sustained drives if you're consistently turning the ball over. I was standing in the press box right at halftime trying to go get something to eat real quick after I did my hit on ESPN radio, and the Raiders were getting the ball. I was like, cool, I'll get my plate. I'll walk back to my spot, sit down, watch the game. Before I even got my paper plate and my fork, he had already thrown an interception. I was like, dang, already? I ain't even got back to my seat yet. So those kind of things can't happen. But you're not giving yourself an opportunity to run enough offensive plays. Right? When you only run 52 plays, you got to be up there 65, 70 plays. I don't know if you saw Monday Night Football, but the Denver Broncos ran 80 plays. They had the ball for like 8 minutes, and I think the Bengals only had it for like 22. That's an extreme, and we know that they're dealing with the backup quarterback. But same thing, man. They want to be able to be a lot more balanced. And, man, that was brutal. But ultimately, you want to have anywhere like 65, 75, somewhere in that range plays. The Raiders only ran 52. So Geno's got to be better, but I feel like that the blueprint is there of what they want to be, who they're trying to be. And I feel like I can confidently say that after 4 weeks. Now, you can correct me if you think I'm wrong. I'm fine with that. 707-654-4693. It's the Locked On Raider podcast voicemail line. Who do you feel like this team is after 4 games? What do you feel like this Raiders identification is? Let me know what you think, because, again, strong run game, right? Big-time defensive performance like we saw on Sunday. And complementary to good, not just complementary. Like last year, they were looking for complementary quarterback play at best. They're going to need complementary to good. They're looking for Geno to be really good. They're not looking for him to be elite, but they're looking for him to be good. If he could be that consistently, the Raiders could have something. If he can't be that, he's going to end up being a liability. And sooner rather than later, you're going to hear everyone calling for Kenny Pickett, or you're going to hear people calling for Aiden O'Connell when he returns, or whatever the case may be. Hell, they'll be calling for Cam Miller. Right? Or trade for this guy, trade for that guy, trade for this guy. Like all that stuff is going to be heard. There's a reason why the Raiders didn't go and draft a quarterback early in 2025 in the draft. They didn't want to hear all the noise behind Geno Smith if he had a bad game like he's had, right? Then all of a sudden you hear all the, like the situation that was going on in New York with the Giants when Russell Wilson, 3 games in gets benched because he can't carry his weight, right? He had one good game against the Cowboys, and we know the Cowboys' defense is not very good. Dallas has the number 1 offense in the league. They also have the 32nd ranked defense. So you want to talk about one extreme to the other, that's who they are. So, yeah, Russ was able to cook against them. They still lost the game, and they finally had to make the move to Jackson Dart. Even though he didn't have a stellar game, they found a way to beat the Chargers, which surprised the mess out of me. So, what do you think this Raiders' identity is? You let me know. 707-654-4693. As a matter of fact, we'll hear from you as we close out the show. We'll do it next here on today's edition of the Locked On Raiders podcast. Before we get to that, though, I do want to tell you about another great sponsor here on the show, and that is Rugiet Go Long. And I got a joke for you. Here we go. What do you get when you have a bald eagle standing on top of a silverback gorilla riding a T-Rex? Confidence, of course. Pure confidence. You're looking for something beyond the usual pill. It's time to meet Rugiet Go Long. What is Rugiet Go Long? Well, it's not just another ED pill. It's a total game changer for confidence, right? It combines 2 doctor-trusted medications in one dual-action formula. So you can get in the mood, stay in the mood, and go the distance, if you know what I'm talking about. The effects can last up to 36 hours, which is confidence all day, all night, and even into the next day. The process is simple. Connect with a board-certified doctor 100% online, and if prescribed, your treatment ships discreetly right to your door. Say that 15 times fast. It ships discreetly right to your door. So, shh, don't tell nobody else. Right now, if you're ready to level up your confidence in the bedroom, head to Rugiet.com. Use the promo code LOCKEDONNFL for 15% off your first order. That's Rugiet, Rugiet.com, promo code LOCKEDONNFL. Make sure to use the promo code so that they know that we sent you. Here we go, Raider Nation. Segment number 3 of today's Locked On Raiders podcast. Your calls and texts are off that Locked On Raider podcast voicemail line, 707-654-4693. Let's start things off with Nate from the 626. He's calling to talk about the Raiders starting off 1-3 and the significance of that overall record. Here he is, Big Nate in the 626.
Yo, Raider Nation. Nate from the 626 right here. Here's a fun fact. The last time the Raiders started 1-3 and made the playoffs was in 1980. And if you know anything about the Raiders, that's the year that they beat the Philadelphia Eagles in the Super Bowl. Now, I ain't saying that they're going to go to the Super Bowl by any means, but crazier things have happened. Still plenty of football left, and like the little man from Angels in the Outfield says, it could happen.
Nate Dogg, thanks for the call. And yeah, I mean, anything could happen, right? That's why they play the games, right? It's a 17-game season. That's what you're guaranteed. 18 weeks, 17 games. It's not about September and October. It's about November and December. But honestly, if you're the Raiders, you'd like to get off to a hot start. You don't want to have to be trying to play catch-up all the time. And that's what they seemingly always do. So 2-2 was a lot better than 1-3. Now they got a lot of, making up to do. I said that they were going to win 4 games. I was estimating they were going to win 4 games by the bye week. That means they'd have to go on a 3-game winning streak, right? Because they only have the Colts this week. They've got the Titans next week, and then they got the Kansas City Chiefs. So, if they go on a 3-game winning streak, then boom, they're at 4 wins. Most likely, that's not going to happen. But, again, that's why they play the games, and it's a long season. It's a marathon, not a sprint. So we'll see what happens. But thanks for the call. Definitely appreciate you. Got a text from Tony in Clayton, North Carolina. It's a pretty lengthy one. It says, good evening, Q. Tony from Clayton, North Carolina. A better game, of course, not the outcome, but Genty got off, and that's an improvement. I was happy to see Genty get his. Gino, though, has to be better. The coaching staff has to do better because that 4th down try was not smart. The decision to play the O-line they used, smart. The decision to play Mostert, smart, with 62 yards on 4 attempts. The defense is slightly better than average. It kept them in the game, but there are some holes, and this defense could do a lot better if their offense stayed on the field longer consistently. The Colts are next, and their offense will outscore any team who are down toward the bottom and converting 3rd downs, along with calling crazy 4th downs on your side of the field, a team we can't fall behind on. I'm just a longtime fan who has more hope or faith in the process than patience. It's a new coach who experienced, so I'm going to have to hope for a better future long-term and have faith in Pete Carroll and hope that he can make this right with a commitment to excellence and progress. Thanks, Q. Have a great week. That's from Tony in Clayton, North Carolina. Tony, thanks so much for the text. Definitely appreciate you. And, yeah, I mean, look, you that's all we can do. Is trust Pete Carroll in the process. It is a marathon, not a sprint. He's trying to build this thing up. He's got the confidence of the organization and the ownership that, they're going to allow him to build this up the way that he sees fit, him and John Spytek together. And, of course, better decisions need to be made at certain times of the game. But the defense did do a good job keeping them in it. Of course, there's still areas that they need to improve. The secondary is still questionable, but you bring up some good points about the Colts. They have a strong run game. I talked about Ashton Genty being number 8 in the league. Guess who's number 1? Jonathan Taylor. Of who? The Indianapolis Colts. They have a strong offensive line, strong run game, as we all know. Taylor's been doing it for a while, and when he's healthy, he is a dog out there. So it's going to be a problem out there for the Raiders on the road in Indy, taking on the Colts, and Daniel Jones is playing some really good ball right now. And one of the reasons why he's really successful is because, as you mentioned about third downs and long, the Colts are the exact opposite. They have more third down and shorts than anyone. I think they've only punted, 3 times all season? Yeah, that ain't nothing to shake a stick at. So it's going to be a tough out, that is for sure. But, Tony, thanks so much for the text. Definitely appreciate that. Got a call from Raider Educator. He's calling to talk about the game on Sunday and compares it to his golf game. Here's Raider Educator.
Yo, Q, this is the Raider Educator out of the 9 1/4. Hey, before we move onward to Indy, I just wanted to comment about the Bears game the other day. We really need to put a full game together. Offense, defense, special teams, everybody working together, even on the offensive side of the ball. The running game complementing the passing game and vice versa. To be honest, watching that Raider game on Sunday reminded me of my golf game. It's like, if the driver and the irons are working, then the chipping and the putting lets me down. If I'm hooking the ball out of bounds, hitting the ball in the water, somehow I miraculously make a one putt to save double bogey, and that ain't getting it done. So on Sunday, if Max was the driver, he was smoking the ball right down the middle of the fairway. Genty, it was our irons. He's hitting the ball, getting on the green in 2. And unfortunately, Gino was the putter. All we had to do was 1 putt for birdie. We missed it. Okay, we'll 2 putt for par. Oh, no, we missed the 4-footer. Now we tap in literally for a 3 putt and a bogey. That's how I felt watching the game on Sunday. But also, I'm not the type of guy that's going to throw away my putter after a bad round or 2. Okay, so I just say we stay the course, give Gino some positive support. But I will tell you, if it continues, I'm going to start looking in my buddy's golf bag, see what kind of equipment he's playing with. I might start looking into what kind of putters are going to drop next year. But as of right now, let's just go 0-0. Let's go into Indy, looking onward and upward, and let's just get this win this week. All right, peace out, Q.
Thanks so much, Raider Educator. It's always great to hear from you. I like the breakdown with the golf game, right? I'm sure some golfers out there could appreciate it. I'm not a golfer, but I understand, right? I don't have to be a good golfer to understand the way that you were breaking that down, and Gino clearly needs to clean up his play. Not sure what the biggest reason is for his issues. I mean, you heard Kirk Morrison talking about, him pressing and just trying to do too much. It could be that, but, man, something he's got to find a way to clean that up. There's really nothing that, Coach Carroll could tell him, nothing that Chip Kelly, Greg Olsen could tell him. He's just got to, in his mind, make a decision not to turn that ball over. You just got to protect the ball. Like Pete Carroll said on Monday, we're in a room that has it's all about the ball on the wall. For a team that values the ball as much as they do, they sure give it away a lot. Can't do that. 4 turnovers on Sunday. You're going to lose that game 99.9% of the time, and the Raiders did just that. Just got time for a couple more of this text from Matt in Banning, California. We could blame Gino to a certain point, but the O-line is still very bad. Gino has to protect the football better. P.S. This is Matt from Banning, California. Matt, thanks for the text. Yeah, the offensive line wasn't good, but they weren't the reason on Sunday, right? We spent a whole week talking about the offensive line. They were not the reason on Sunday. The Raiders ran for over 200-plus yards, right? He had time to throw the ball. He just threw errant passes. That's 100% on Gino. Now, the offensive line is most likely going to look different next week, so we'll probably go back to saying that, oh, man, the offensive line is struggling, especially if Colton Miller misses, which I think he's going to miss at least one game. Wouldn't be surprised if he misses a couple with a high ankle sprain. That's less than ideal, obviously, but, the offensive line is what the offensive line is. Like Pete Carroll said a couple weeks ago, this is who we got. This is who we're working with. Guys like Caleb Rogers, guys like, Stone Forsythe, guys like, Charles Grant, obviously, are going to have to work their tails off to get ready for, maybe possibly having their names called, as sooner rather than later. And I'm talking about the tackle spot. I'm talking about guard spots. Like, if this thing doesn't work, then you could see some wholesale changes. But I think that they're going to give it a little bit of time to see if it works or not. So thanks so much for the text. I do appreciate you. We'll close things out with a call from Raider Jack. He's calling with a few observations about the game on Sunday, the running game, Geno Smith, and a little bit more. Here's Raider Jack.
Hey, Q, this is Raider Jack. A couple thoughts. First, I like seeing Raheem Mostert out there. I feel like his veteran experience helps the momentum of the Raiders offense. I saw something saying that maybe Genty doesn't hit all the holes, and obviously he's growing, he's a rookie, but having that veteran experience, be able to hit those holes, or if there's not a hole, just go, put your head down, get a couple yards, and he looked good. So I hope we can use Raheem as the season goes on. Second, I love how Genty got 20 carries. I'd love to see him get 5 targets. I want to use him like he's a Christian McCaffrey. I want the offense to go through him. Even when he's getting hit behind the line, he's breaking a tackle or two. So if we can get those design passes, those screens, those things to him, and I think that will help Geno. That first game, I noticed that Geno was good. He was clean. And then on third down, he'd get a little anxious and he'd rip one. And it's like, whoa, Geno, careful. Like, you don't want to. So I feel like maybe after the first couple of games, he's like, okay, this is on me. I gotta make things happen. So he's relying on himself and his arm to make those throws. But if we can kind of change that mentality of like, hey, Geno, we got our offense rolling, we got Genty going, we have these other assets we can utilize. Don't be so risky. Now again, if it's third down and he's doing those things, that's one thing. But to feel like he's full on Jameis Winston 2.0, it's like, okay, we're not that team. Let's be a little bit more smart with our throws and things. So I think this could, hopefully, it sucks because it's a loss, but against the Patriots, it was a learning game and it was a W. But I try to be optimistic. As a Raiders fan, that's all you can do. But if Chip Kelly can utilize Genty and get some pace to the game so Geno doesn't feel so much pressure, and we can sit back there and do smart throws more than what he's doing. And then, yeah, I think if Chip Kelly, that's kind of who I'm blaming. Of course, I'm at home on my couch, but that third and short that Raider Pants talked about, it's like, why would we go up the middle there? Like, we got to do something better. But yeah, hopefully get some pressure off of Geno. He can be a little bit more comfortable in the back and utilize Genty and some of our skill players more and kind of go from there. But Raider Nation, let's go.
Raider Jack, thanks for the call. Mostert being up was a big deal. Mentioned that in segment number 2. That veteran presence was needed. No doubt. I'm sure we'll see more of him moving forward. Had 64, 62 yards, whatever it was on the ground. Genty had 23 total touches, and we saw what he was able to do with it, right? So that's a positive, right? 3 touchdowns, 2 receiving, and 1 running. I'll take that every day of the week and twice on Sunday. As far as Chip goes, he just needs to keep tinkering, right? See what works and most importantly, what the Raiders do best. It's something that Lincoln brings up all the time on the Raiders Squad Show. The Raiders need a handful of plays that they can go to that they know they run best, that work. Like the Philadelphia Eagles run the tush push all the time. They know it works, and they know that they're best at it. The Raiders need to find what they do best, right? What run is it? Remember when Gruden, it was the Spider Y2, what was it? Spider Y2 banana? Y2 Spider, whatever. You know what it was. Yeah, I don't remember the exact play call. Spider 2 Y banana. I think that's what it was. Anyway, that was his go-to, right? When he needed a play, that was his go-to. The first touchdown in Allegiant Stadium was to Alec Ingold off of what? Spider Y2 banana, right? So I mean, it's just that simple. That play was his go-to. So the Raiders need to come up with about 3 or 4 of those go-to plays. When they got to have it, they know they can go to that place. So thanks so much for that call. Definitely appreciate you. Jupiter Raider in Connecticut got a lengthy text that we'll get to on tomorrow's show. We'll continue to, talk about the loss, but also start to turn the page to the Indianapolis Colts as that's week 5 action. And, man, it's crazy how quickly everything goes by. So we're going to keep the party rolling as we do each and every day. We'll have more news and notes of the day, and we'll have plenty of conversation as well. So until tomorrow, Raider Nation, take care of yourself, take care of your family, love on your family. Most importantly, as always, just win, baby.